Hey, geometry students. In this lesson, we're going to be working some practice problems related to 1 and 2 point perspective. Let's get started. First thing we need to do is draw a rectangular prism with in 1 point perspective in which the vanishing point is to the left of the square. Now notice it says rectangular prism and square. They must mean a square prism. So that's what we're going to do. First thing I'm going to start with is adding a square somewhere. And I'm going to put a square right here. Okay, let's see. We'll make the fill transparent, and there we go. I have my square. Now we need to draw a horizon line, either above or below. I'm going to put a horizon line above and a vanishing point. And we see that the vanishing point is way over to the left. In fact, it's to the left of the square. That was the instructions. Okay, next I'm going to connect the vanishing point to all four corners of my square using a dotted line. And then I'm just going to copy and paste this dotted line, and we're going to use this to connect all four corners. 1, 2, do my best to get this in the right spot. Down to another corner, 3, and then over to the last corner, 4. All right, now I have my book open right next to me to the instructions for doing this, just so I know exactly what I'm doing, so I don't forget any steps or make a mistake. The next step is for me to use the dashed lines to draw the sides of a smaller square. So what I need to do is draw 1, 2, 3, 4 sides using 2 vertical and 2 horizontal parts. So I'm going to start here and go straight up. And I need to make sure I go straight up to the right place. If I go all the way up, I'm going to be mistaken. I'm going to find myself having a hard time when I make the next side, finding where the ending point is going to be. But if I go up to this, notice I'm crossing over exactly one of the dotted lines to reach the second dotted line. That's a good way to remember how to do this step. Okay, so there we go. That's pretty good. We're going to do the same thing. Let me just move this up a tad, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start at this corner, and we're going to go over to the right. Okay. Now, here, I'm not crossing over any dotted lines, but I am running into a problem because in drawings, it wants to snap itself to a picture. So let's see if I can make it so that it's a little smaller. Maybe the best way to do that is to slide this over and then just drag this end to make it smaller. There, that's pretty good. Next, we're going to start here and go downward. So start there. Well, it wants to snap it to that purple point. So what I have to do is just draw the segment and then move it in the right spot. It should connect from there to here. And then my last one is going to connect the two bottoms. Let's see if I can do that one without snapping. There to there. Right. The last step is just to now that I have my big square and my little square, I need to connect each of the corners along the dotted lines. 1, 2, 3. Oops, there we go again. Here, let's try that one more time. We're going to start here, up. I might just have to make this segment a little too long and accept it for now. 4. There we go. And that is my cube in 1 point perspective with the vanishing point to the left of the original square that I drew. All right, let's keep going. Next, it says to draw a cube in 2 point perspective with the vanishing points and horizon below the vertical line. And I don't know if you're like me, this is going to take a little bit for your brain to interpret because it doesn't even look like a cube when I first look at it. You have to understand that you're looking at the bottom. This is the bottom corner of a cube. And then you're looking inside the cube. This is the far top point right here. Okay, does that make sense? This is the far top point, and you're looking up at the cube from below. Well, notice that when I put my vanishing point below the cube, it looks like I'm looking up at the cube from below. And then if I wanted to, I could just verify that these lines go to the vanishing point. So if I connect this, and it's really hard to do this. Okay, hold on. Let's try this one other way. Let's actually just start at this point it wants me to snap to, and we'll go down from there. So I'm just going to move this down, and I should find out that this reaches exactly to the vanishing point along that line. See? There we go. Reaches to the vanishing point. All of these lines in this cube will point at the vanishing point somewhere. So, for example, this one is going to point at the vanishing point. There we go. Now I'm just showing you the completed product of this one and verifying that all of the lines that should connect to vanishing points do connect to vanishing points. Let me just remind you, there's 6 steps to doing this. The first thing you would do is draw your vertical center line, and then you would draw your horizon with your vanishing points. Next, you would draw dashed lines. Those are the lines that I put in, connecting the two edges of or the two vertices of this line segment that you drew. You don't only start by drawing this front one. You're connecting both vertices to the vanishing points on your 2-point perspective line. So you'd actually have 4 lines here: one here, one here, one here, and then one up here as well. Then the next thing that you do after you have those dotted lines draw the vertical segments here and here, and you would connect them and darken along the dotted lines that you drew here, 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 and here. So you'd have these front 2 faces drawn at that point. The only thing you would need yet are these back 2. And the way you would get those is now connecting these 2 points to this vanishing point and these 2 points to this vanishing point. Let me drop in one more line and make sure that that's true. Does this point here connect to this vanishing point along the... Ugh, it should. Okay, I'm going to say if it doesn't, it should. It's really close. So I was just using the book's version of it. It looks like they drew a little bit above where they should have, but it's close. All right. Anyway, so this is what this should look like when I have a horizontal line, or my horizon below my cube. All right. Next, we're going to look at what an isometric drawing looks like. An isometric drawing is done on isometric graph paper. Notice that these points on my isometric graph paper make triangle shapes. And it's really easy for me to do 2-point perspective drawings on isometric graph paper, because all I need to do is start by dropping a vertical somewhere, and then the other vertical edges, okay? And then I just connect those edges along the lines that are just built into the isometric graph paper. So let's just take a look at letter C. Make an isometric drawing of a triangular prism. So the first thing I would do is start by drawing my front line. Now, if I were doing this in 2-point perspective, what I would need to do is draw a horizon line with 2 points on it. On isometric graph paper, you don't have to worry about that whole extra step, because all you need to do then is decide where you want your edges to be of your prism, this one, and just draw them in so that they're the same length as your original edge. And then you just connect them along the dots on the graph paper. Notice that both of these lines travel on the dots. It looks like a good 3-dimensional figure, but it's not in point perspective. Okay, so notice it doesn't get smaller as it recedes into the distance. This is just an easy way to do perspective. And then lastly, letter D. Morgan wants to make a wooden bookshelf, and with 2 shelves. The bookshelf will be 1 meter wide, 1 meter deep, 1.5 meters tall. To decide how much wood to buy, Morgan will draw his plans for the bookshelf. Should the drawing be from 1 or 2-point perspective, sketch what Morgan's drawing should look like. I would draw it from one point perspective because I would want to see what the front face of it looks like. I don't want to just see a diagonal view of it if this is something I'm building. And then if I could see the front face, I could label all of the lengths on the front face of it. Uh, so if I do this with one point perspective, it might end up looking something like this. Now, this would be a bear to draw, but that's what the book wanted you to do. So if it asks you to do this and a problem, you're just going to have to take the time to make all of the lines. It's not that bad. 'Cause keep in mind, you're going to just start with this outside. This is just a regular old rectangular prism. Okay, it's taller than it is wide. That's really its key feature. And then the only thing that's hard is that every one of the shelves on the inside, you need to draw its own line back to the vanishing point. Not shown on here, but let me show you what I'm talking about. So starting right here, you would need to draw a line back to the vanishing point for where this shelf is. I'm going to try to make this as perfect as possible according to the drawing. And you'll have to do that for each of the shelves. Notice that down here I have another line back to the vanishing point. And that's how you would draw this figure. Okay, and again, you would follow the instructions, but this one you can only follow the instructions so far because the instructions tell you how to make a prism. They don't actually tell you how to make a whole cabinet that has pieces inside. But you have to just use your head and think logically. Everything has to follow 1 or 2 point perspective in these. So everything should be drawn with lines back to the vanishing point. And as long as you keep that in mind, even when you're winging it and figuring these things out on your own, you'll be fine. All right, this is how you do these sorts of problems. You're ready for the lesson practice for today?